The first part of the This I Believe unit is to look at the poetry of a specific poet and to determine that poet's beliefs by reading his or her work. And so what I'm going to do right now is to model this process with a poem by Sharon Olds, which is titled I Go Back to May 1937. Ultimately, what I'm asking you to do is to just analyze the poetry by looking at the diction, syntax, imagery, tone, and then the overall message, which then you can see as the belief statement. What does the poet believe? That's ultimately what we're trying to answer by reading his or her poetry. So what I'll do right now is first read through I Go Back to May 1937 once, just kind of to read through the poem, and then I'll go back and highlight some key elements that I would pull out in my analysis of Sharon Olds' beliefs. So first, I go back to May 1937. I see them standing at the formal gates of their colleges. I see my father strolling out under the ochre sandstone arch, the red tiles glinting like bent plates of blood behind his head. I see my mother with a few light books at her hip, standing at the pillar made of tiny bricks, the wrought iron gate still open behind her, its sword tips aglow in the May air. They are about to graduate. They are about to get married. They are kids. They are dumb. All they know is they are innocent. They would never hurt anybody. I want to go up to them and say, stop. Don't do it. She's the wrong woman. He's the wrong man. You are going to do things you cannot imagine you would ever do. You are going to do bad things to children. You are going to suffer in ways you have not heard of. You are going to want to die. I want to go up to them there in the late May sunlight and say it, her hungry, pretty face turning to me, her pitiful beautiful, untouched body, his arrogant, handsome face turning to me, his pitiful, beautiful, untouched body. But I don't do it. I want to live. I take them up like the male and female paper dolls and bang them together at the hips like chips of flint, as if to strike sparks from them. I say, do what you are going to do, and I will tell about it. So that's just an initial read through. And so let's go back and look at some of those elements and try to determine what is the overall message? What is Sharon Olds' belief here? So what I first would pull out is this term strolling. I see my father strolling out. And the narrator is kind of looking back to a time when she wasn't even in existence. She sees her parents graduating from college. This is well before she was even born. And she sees her father strolling out. This specific use of diction or word choice kind of makes me think, okay, her father is confident. And then I would pull out the word blood, plates of blood. This kind of is, this creates an image in my head that isn't necessarily, I would probably say it's more negative. So ultimately with her father, he's confident, but there's almost like a negative connotation there. And then as I continue read, we have the image of sword tips kind of along with the mother. And again, this is sort of negative, specifically almost like violent. So we have really two almost negative images. As we continue reading, we see syntax or the sentence structure. She really repeats a lot of they are, all they know. So they are about to graduate, they are about to get married, they are kids, they are dumb. This syntax or sentence structure, it almost creates like a flow, but it flows towards that final, almost like a harsh indictment, like they are dumb. So I would pull that specific sentence structure and really show how it flows from, okay, they're graduating, they're getting married, they're kids, and they're dumb. And it almost hits you like a ton of bricks, the fact that she calls her parents dumb right there. And so as we continue reading, then we see that similar sentence structure down here. You are, you cannot, you are, you are, you are. So let's focus on this part of the poem. You're going to do things you cannot imagine you would ever do. You're going to do bad things to children. You're going to suffer in ways you have not heard of. You're going to want to die. So not only does this syntax or sentence structure kind of mirror the one that we see up here, but we also see diction. Specifically, let's look at the fact that she first uses third person up here with they. But now she's using second person with you. So now she's speaking directly to her parents. And it's almost, I would probably say it's almost like very critical. And it's almost a critical accusation, right? Because first she's talking about them in third person, and now she's specifically talking to them. And she's very critical to them, and she's saying that you cannot imagine what you're going to do. You're going to do all these horrible things. And as we continue reading on then, I would pull this line out, but I don't do it. I want to live. So ultimately she says she wants to warn her parents almost to not get married because of these horrible things that they're going to do. But she doesn't do it. So she goes back in time and she wants to tell her parents that, they're just not the right people for each other. But she doesn't want to do it. And why doesn't she want to warn them and almost change the past? It's because she wants to live. I mean, if she were to warn her parents and they don't get married, then ultimately it wouldn't get born, and she wouldn't be able to live. And then at that very final sentence, do what you are going to do, and I will tell about it. This final, quarter of the poem is really where we see Sharon Olds' belief statement, and this is where we can determine her overall message. Ultimately, this is the human condition. We can love life equally as much as we can hate it. You can't really have happiness without the pain, the joy without the sorrow. And so with this final kind of statement at the end, that fact that she doesn't do it, she wants to live, we can really write a belief statement. What does Sharon Olds believe? What is her message? And what I would say is, no matter how difficult life gets, it's always worth living, because even the toughest times can lead to the best outcomes. So let's just take a look at that belief. No matter how difficult life gets, it's always worth living, because even the toughest times can lead to the best outcomes. That's ultimately what Sharon Olds is saying at this throughout the entire poem. Really, we can even see it with this final line: do what you are going to do and I will tell about it. That's Sharon Olds' job, is to tell about not only her life, but to make it connect to other people's lives, because we all share this, similar experiences. So Olds is even able to use her family problems as inspiration for her poems. So really, that is the belief statement that I was able to pull out after reading through Sharon Olds' poem, I Go Back to May 1937. And this is the process that you'll be doing with your own, with the own poetry that you find during your research. So again, you'll be choosing one poet, and then you choose two of his or her poetry, and you'll analyze it using diction, syntax, imagery, tone, and overall message to really determine what the belief is.